Hello, trumpet players. This is a quick video about our latest book, Trumpet Chops Master. This is the 6th book in the Trumpet Chops series, and we're going to tell you all about it. First of all, what is the Chops series, the Trumpet Chops series? Trumpet Chops is supposed to replace my original book, The Daily Routines. Now, we'll never get rid of the daily routines because it works and it sells, and so we're not going to mess with that. So when I say replace, I mean replaces in the lessons. Instead of my students getting the daily routines book, we're doing the Chops books with them instead. What's the difference? The old daily routines don't have the tweaks that I developed over decades of using that book. What are those tweaks? Well, some of them have to do with the order that the exercises are in. I did change the order, and not just the order of the types of exercises like what we talk about in the physical trumpet pyramid, but also the order of the exercises themselves within the types. In other words, what we do more of in this book is what I call expansion studies. We do long tone expansion studies. Basically, the lip buzz is expansion studies. The articulations are expansion studies. All of it starts in the middle, works its way out. Wonderful way to work on exercises, these expansions. It's just, that's why we wrote new books. The physical trumpet pyramid structure is still there, and it's going to always be there. But the new exercises have that expansion stuff built into it. Now, let's talk about those exercises just a little bit. It starts with air exercise, and there's a sheet of, there's a page of instructions on what to do with that. There's no exercise in music notation. You flip the page from there. After the air exercise, you're doing lip buzz. Now, these lip buzz, if I'm not mistaken, go all the way up to high C. Do you have to have a high C in your lip buzz to take advantage of this? No, that's not necessary. If you need to modify the lip buzz, that's fine. I will tell you this, that the lip buzz is the most demanding thing in the whole book. And that's all the exercise, all the chops and the daily routine stuff. All of that, the lip buzz is always the hardest thing. Now, after lip buzz, we do mouthpiece placement. Mouthpiece placement was originally an exercise I made up for my braces students, where you just buzz. I have a video about this. You buzz and you put the mouthpiece on the buzz. And after doing that with my braces students for a while, I thought, why am I not doing this all the time? I think the mouthpiece placement exercise is actually one of the, I say this about all of them, right? One of the most beneficial exercises in the book, even though it's just one line of music notation. After that, we do the lip buzz. Now, the lip buzz goes all the way up to the E, not lip buzz, what am I saying? Mouthpiece buzz, sorry, misspoke there. The mouthpiece buzz goes all the way up to the E above high C, and I think there's some pedal tones in there too. All right, now after that, we do long tones. Once again, the long tones start off in this reduced range and expand out up to E above high C, and then as low as the pedal tones. After that, we do the scales, which I call tonalization studies. What makes a tonalization study different from regular scales? Most of the time when we do regular scales, we do every scale. We do the C scale, the D flat scale, the D scale, the E flat scale. Tonalization studies are meant to be done 20 different exercises in one key at a time. Now you can do it 1 key per day, 1 key per week, 1 key per month. That's all beneficial. We do not do all of the keys in 1 day. Now someone asked me, well, then what do you do about having all of those scales under your fingers? We cover that in the long tones and the articulation studies, because the long tones in this book are in all 12 keys. The articulation studies are in all 12 keys. The intervals are in all 12 keys. So you're still getting that. You're just not getting it during your scale time. And yes, the tonalization studies go all the way up to the E above high C, and then down to low F sharp or G natural. After that, we do the lip slurs. Now, my lip slurs are very different from most people's lip slurs. I remember when I first invented them and I played them, I told my friends about them. This was when I lived in El Paso, and I remember we were doing a recording session. That's like over 40 years ago, so I don't remember a lot of detail, but we were in a recording session, and I said I wrote some new lip slurs, and they had this attitude like, there are no such thing as new lip slurs. So then I played them for them, and they said, oh. That's what I remember. The answer was, oh. Yes, you did write your own lip slurs. And I modified them a couple times since then, so they're even more different now. So then after the lip slurs, we do pedal tones. Now, we do pedal tones on the other exercises too, but this is a exercise when we're actually focusing on the pedal tones. Then after the pedal tones, we do articulation studies. Now, these are slur tongue studies, where we start with mostly slurs and work our way to only tonguing. Once again, talking about that in the context of the order of the exercises, we're using the physical trumpet pyramid order, but within those exercises, the order is now significant. We're what's that word I used before? I use it all the time. Expanding. We're expanding from slurring to tonguing. It's a wonderful, wonderful way to work on articulation every day, because what it does is it emphasizes the air. By doing slurs mostly and then gradually heading towards more every note being tongued, you ensure that the air is correct. You don't have to think about the air or, support better or anything like that. By doing those exercises in that order, that becomes a natural process. After that, we do what I call articulation intervals, which is just intervals, but with articulation patterns within them. This is the biggest complaint I've got from my students, is that these intervals are just nuts, but it's supposed to be the master level, right? This is the master level. This is supposed to be, there's only one level harder than this. So it's supposed to be hard. And you just have to, let me put it this way. When I first learned them, I think those exercises are now 2-3 years old. It's taken me a long time to finish this book. When I first learned those exercises, I had sticky pads on and telling me, slow it down. Because I kept plowing through it, and I couldn't do that without tripping myself. So even I had to, the one that wrote the book, even I had to practice those exercises really, really slow in the beginning. That's necessary. The reason why, normally when we do these interval things, it's just like Arbenz, right? Bop, 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 right? But then it switches, and then we go bop, bop, beep, bop, beep, bop, beep, bop, in the same exercise. And that's what makes it difficult, because it's not what we normally do. But I do believe that pushing you past that comfort zone is an important part of these routines. Anyway, so after that, we do the multiple tongue, and the multiple tongue is unreal. It's I'm going to have to spend, another couple years practicing this stuff myself. And that's what this is about. Now, I had a student the other day said, I can't play these up to tempo. They're not meant to be played up to tempo. I have a sequence of skill levels that we're supposed to go through. And it's not meant to be executed like a virtuoso from the time when we start. That's not the point. The point is, so for example, if you're familiar with my system, that Trumpet Chops Pro book is probably the most popular of this system, and we're triple tonguing arpeggios in that book. At the end of the book, triple tonguing arpeggios. The next level after triple tonguing arpeggios is triple tonguing these same kind of intervals I was talking about before, but now we're doing double and triple tongue on those intervals. Except that nobody's got the technique to actually do that just yet. Especially with an original exercise that I wrote. Nobody's seen these things before. That's not the point. What we're trying to do is the mechanics. So we slow that way, way, way down. And we still use the double tongue, taka, 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 but we're going to go ta, toki, 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 koti, right? We're gonna do that at single tongue tempos. And I think people get that mixed up, right? They think that they have to work it up to tempo for there to be any benefit. No. It doesn't have to be worked up to tempo. That's not the purpose of these exercises. The purpose of these exercises is to challenge you, to confront you, to make you confront that series of issues on the instrument. Single tonguing, double tonguing, triple tonguing, these expanding intervals is not something we do all day, every day. By having that as a daily task, now I say daily, you're only supposed to do this once or twice a week. If you understand my system according to the one range method, you're only supposed to do this once or twice a week. So when I say daily, I mean regularly. But still, if you are once or twice a week confronting that issue with these intervals and that articulation, when something difficult comes up in your music that you have to perform in public, you've already got those skills. Just because, the articulation studies we're talking about the double tongue stuff, double tongue and triple tongue, in my book, The Trumpet Chops Master. It's full-page etudes. If you can, in slow motion, go through these full-page etudes with these expanding intervals, some of them are kind of awkward. If you can do a whole page of that once or twice a week, when something a little less challenging than that comes up, but something that needs to be in tempo, you've got most of the skills for that already. There's nothing holding you back on that. And, that's part of what a routine is for, isn't it? A routine is to give you those skills that you will probably need in the future. That's a big part of it. That's not the only part of it, but that's one of the benefits, one of the reasons why we do routines. Is so that those skills, when they come up, are not new to us. One of the worst things that can happen when you are practicing a piece of music is for you to have to learn a new skill just for that piece of music. That's one of the worst things that can happen. In fact, as a good teacher, I would not recommend a I do make mistakes like this sometimes. We'll be working on it, and halfway through, I'm like, oh, not ready for that one. But that's rare. As a good teacher, you know what the student's skill set is, and you assign the music according to that. You never assign a piece of music to a student. Well, I should say I never assign a piece of music that's including skills that the students don't have yet. I know some people like to do that on purpose, but what you end up with is mediocrity. You have mediocre skills and mediocre performance on the piece. Does that make sense? Because you learn the skill under a deadline, which means you did not learn it thoroughly. And then because you didn't learn it thoroughly, when you're playing the piece in public, you are not playing at the best of your ability. I didn't mean to go into all of this for this video, but that's the basis of why these exercises are so nuts the way they are. The long tones are nuts because I'm using if I remember right, I say if I remember right, because I practice each one of these on a regular basis, so I can't keep track which ones are which. I think it's the diminished whole tone scale. And most classical people are not exposed to the diminished whole tone scale. And so it's got accidentals all the way through because I'm doing it in the key that diminished whole tone scale would resolve to. It's based on the Chickwit study, but it's more of like a jazzy Chickwit study where we're taking the diminished whole tone scale, ascending, descending, and then resolving on a major triad. So all of these exercises in this Trumpet Chops master book take everything to the next level. It's all just more difficult. And for that reason, by the way, I don't expect as many people to buy this book as the others. For now, we've got the Trumpet Tyro book, that's the second book in the series, the Trumpet Player book, which is the third in the series, the Trumpet Apprentice book, which is the fourth, and then the Trumpet Pro book, Trumpet Chops Pro, Trumpet Chops Player, Trumpet Chops Apprentice. Now we're adding to that the fifth one, which is sixth in the series. And I mean it. I don't expect to sell as many of these as I do the rest of those, because you shouldn't be buying this book if you don't have those chops. Let's put it this way. If you haven't been doing the Trumpet Chops Pro book without getting tired, you're not ready for the Trumpet Chops Master book. That's one surefire way to know whether you're ready to go on or not. If you can do the previous level's book without getting tired from beginning to end. And when I mean getting tired, I mean the sound gets so bad, there's like air in the sound and stuff like that. I don't mean you can't play a note. That's, we want to be tired enough to negate, well, what am I saying? How do we know when you're ready to go from the Trumpet Chops Pro book to the Trumpet Chops Master? Is when you get through the Trumpet Chops Pro and your sound is just as clean and pretty at the end as it was at the beginning. Or at least close to that. That's when you know. Now, some people would say, well, there's a lot of people with range up to that. Why would you not expect to sell to them? Well, most people who play up to that range already have their thing. Does that make sense? People who play up that high, like for reals, already have their thing. They don't need my book. You're going to see I know this because I've been selling books, trumpet books, publishing and selling books since 1990. I actually wrote the first one in 1988. I just happen to know that people only come to my books. Talking about the physical books, right? The other stuff is different. People come to my books when they've tried everything else and it didn't work. So that's the kind of people that, and so at the highest end, those people don't fall in that category. If you're playing E's above high C, you're not one of those that's tried everything and it didn't work. Do I think that this would benefit people like that? Yes, of course, but it's a hard sell, right? They already have something that works for them. And most of the people who come to me and come to my books, they come with that understanding that this is something, first of all, that's different. The biggest compliment I get, most of my students right now are adults. The biggest compliment, I just got this compliment again last week. The biggest compliment I get is the structure of the exercises. The structure, how well it's written out, the explanations, all of that stuff. This new student that I just brought on, he says that really appeals to him. And what he's commenting on there is decades of experience. I used the word earlier, tweaking. I think I did. I was supposed to. These new books have all the tweaks in them, and that's part of the tweaks. What he's noticing is the tweaks that I've invested into these books. I didn't want to just update the daily routines. The daily routines work. Sometimes I still revisit them. But the Trumpet Chops books, all of them, from Tyro up to Master now, are all heavy in these tweaks. And because of these tweaks and because of the original structure, that physical trumpet pyramid structure, because of all of that, these books work. I don't do a lot of advertising. I put out a video like this. Most people, I think the last video like this I put out, it had, for one of the Chops books, I think it's got like a couple hundred views. We've sold more than a couple hundred of those books. So that's not what advertises the book. It's not my ugly face. It's not my stupid videos. What sells the book is that they work. They work. Now, if you are unfamiliar with my system, before you start with the Chops Master Book, even if you have that range, I want to encourage you to first buy the One Range book. That's our most popular book right now. It's always a toss-up lately, over the last few years, between the Trumpet Chops, between the One Range book and the Trumpet Hymn Duets. Those Trumpet Hymn Duets are very popular, and I'm very happy about that. So, but yes, sometimes it's the Trumpet Hymn Duets that sells the most, and then sometimes it's the One Range book that sells the most. If you are interested in this system that I just discussed with you, please check out the One Range book first, because it'll help you understand how the Trumpet Chops Master Book is supposed to be used. That's why I wrote the One Range book. With the new Trumpet Chops books coming out, I now have literally dozens of routines that you could practice. Literally dozens, and they're all based on the physical trumpet pyramid structure, but there's something different about each of them. And I wanted to have a book that would help people when they say, oh, that stuff that Eddie Lewis is talking about, that sounds interesting. Where do I start? I wanted the book that would tell them, hey, this is how the system works. Now, based on your own skill level or your own preferences, how much time you have to practice, let's start with this book or that book. So I do recommend that if you're unfamiliar with my system, please buy the One Range book first. I call it a Trumpet Chops Strategy Guide. That's not a coincidence. Trumpet Chops. See, that's Trumpet Chops. I started adding chops to the titles with the Chops Express book. And then Trumpet Chops book came after that. And so, yes, that's not a coincidence. The Trumpet Chops Strategy Guide helps you use those other books in that system. Because it's not good enough. My system doesn't work if you use the same book all the time. Well, let's just put it this way. It doesn't work as well. Okay? It just doesn't work as well. Okay, so I will put links in the description to where the books are available now. And then I will also add a link to my website where the links will be updated. I can't promise to update the links here on the video because there's just so much for me to do. I don't know that I would remember to update the links on this video. So, but yes, I will I'll put a link down there that can send you to the website where the links will be updated. Other than that, please ask if you've got any questions. God bless you, and we'll see you on the next video. Thank you very much.